Welcome to Prep Pass. Here are 50 real ServSafe Food Protection Manager practice questions with answers for 2026. Read each question, then try to answer before the 5-second timer runs out. For the full free practice test, just search preppass.org. Let's begin. Question 1. The ALERT acronym helps operations reduce the risk of deliberate, intentional, food contamination. What does ALERT stand for? A. Assess, label, enforce, report, track. B. Alarm, lock, empty, reject, test. C. Analyze, list, evaluate, record, teach. D. Assure, look, employees, reports, threat. The correct answer is D. ALERT stands for Assure, use safe suppliers, look, monitor security of products and areas, employees, know who is in the facility, reports, keep records of security, and threat, know what to do and who to contact if there is a threat. It is a food defense tool against intentional contamination. The other options are invented phrases. Question 2. A manager sets up a quaternary ammonium (quat) sanitizer solution. How should the correct concentration be determined? A. Follow the manufacturer's directions, commonly around 200 ppm, and verify with a quat test kit. B. Use exactly 50 ppm as for chlorine. C. Pour until the water turns cloudy. D. Use 500 ppm to be extra safe. The correct answer is A. Quaternary ammonium sanitizer must be mixed to the manufacturer's specified concentration, commonly about 200 ppm, and confirmed with a quat-specific test kit. Concentrations for quats differ from chlorine, so chlorine's 50 to 100 ppm range does not apply. Guessing by appearance or overdosing wastes product and can leave unsafe residue. Question 3. Norovirus outbreaks spread rapidly in restaurants. What is the most effective way for a manager to prevent norovirus transmission from staff? A. Exclude ill staff and enforce proper handwashing with no bare hand contact with ready-to-eat food. B. Increase the freezer temperature to kill the virus. C. Rely on hand sanitizer instead of soap and water. D. Cook all food to 135 degrees Fahrenheit. The correct answer is A. Norovirus is extremely contagious and spread by the fecal-oral route, so excluding sick employees and strict handwashing plus no bare hand contact with ready-to-eat food are the key controls. Freezing does not kill norovirus, sanitizer alone is not effective against it, and 135 degrees Fahrenheit is a holding temperature, not a kill step. Question 4. A concession stand uses time as a public health control for hot dogs removed from temperature control at 11 a.m. If the hot dogs never had their temperature monitored after removal, by what time must they be sold, served, or discarded? A. 1 p.m., 2 hours after removal. B. 5 p.m., 6 hours after removal. C. 3 p.m., 4 hours after removal. D. There is no limit as long as they look and smell fine. The correct answer is C. Under the basic time as a public health control option, food removed from temperature control must be sold, served, or discarded within 4 hours. The food must be marked with the discard time, and anything left at 3 p.m. must be thrown out. Question 5. 2 days after a catered event, the health department calls to say several guests have laboratory-confirmed salmonella. What is the manager's best first step in the outbreak response? A. Throw out all records so the operation is not blamed. B. Tell staff to say nothing and keep serving the same menu. C. Publicly deny any connection before investigating. D. Cooperate with the health department, preserve suspect food and records, and identify the implicated items. The correct answer is D. In a suspected foodborne illness outbreak, the manager should cooperate fully with the regulatory authority, set aside and label any suspect food so it can be tested, and preserve production and employee health records. Discarding evidence or stonewalling hampers the investigation and increases liability. Early, honest cooperation protects the public and the business. Question 6. Which single symptom, reported by a food handler, requires the manager to exclude, not just restrict, that employee from the operation? A. Vomiting or diarrhea. B. A mild seasonal cough. C. A headache. D. A tired, watery eyes. The correct answer is A. An employee with vomiting or diarrhea must be excluded from the operation because these symptoms strongly signal a transmissible foodborne pathogen. A restriction, keeping the person away from food and clean equipment, applies to lesser situations, but active vomiting or diarrhea calls for full exclusion. A cough, headache, or tired eyes alone do not by themselves require exclusion. Question 7. A steakhouse buys mechanically tenderized sirloin from its supplier. The chef wants to cook it like a regular steak to 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. What should the manager say? A. That is fine, tenderizing does not change the cooking requirement. B. It must reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds like poultry. C. It only needs 135 degrees Fahrenheit because it will be hot-held. D. It must reach 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 17 seconds, because the tenderizing needles can carry surface bacteria into the interior of the meat. The correct answer is D. Mechanically tenderized and injected meats are treated like ground meats and must reach 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 17 seconds. The blades or needles used in tenderizing can push surface pathogens deep into the muscle, so the whole muscle steak standard of 145 degrees Fahrenheit no longer applies. Question 8. Which delivery condition is a valid reason to reject a shipment of fresh produce and packaged foods? A. Cases stacked neatly on a clean pallet. B. Torn or water-stained packaging, evidence of pests, droppings/gnaw marks, or off odors. C. A produce that is properly cold and crisp. D. A sealed, undamaged bag of flour. The correct answer is B. Deliveries must be rejected when packaging is torn, punctured, or water-stained, when there is evidence of pests such as droppings or gnaw marks, or when there are off odors, slime, or mold, because these indicate contamination or abuse. Neatly stacked cases, properly cold produce, and sealed undamaged bags are all acceptable. The receiving inspection is a key control before food enters storage. Question 9. Deliberate food contamination differs from accidental contamination because it, A. is done intentionally to cause harm, such as tampering or sabotage. B. Only involves natural spoilage. C. Is always caused by poor cooking temperatures. D. Cannot be prevented by any security measures. The correct answer is A. Deliberate contamination is intentional, done by people seeking to cause harm through tampering, sabotage, or terrorism, and food defense programs like Alert help prevent it. Accidental contamination comes from mistakes in handling. Security measures such as limiting access and monitoring suppliers do help reduce the risk. Question 10. For an iodine-based, iodophore, sanitizer, which concentration range is generally correct? A. 50 to 100 ppm. B. 200 ppm minimum. C. At 12.5 to 25 ppm. D. 500 ppm or higher. The correct answer is C. Iodine sanitizers, or iodophores, are effective at roughly 12.5 to 25 ppm within the manufacturer's specified temperature and pH range. This range is much lower than chlorine or quartz, so using a chlorine test strip or a higher target would be wrong. Always check the specific product label and verify with the matching test kit. Question 11. A prep cook slices deli meat and then handles lettuce for salads without washing hands. Non-typhoidal salmonella is most commonly associated with which foods? A. Fresh citrus and vinegar. B. Poultry, eggs, and produce. C. Bottled water and ice. D. Dry pasta and flour. The correct answer is B. Non-typhoidal salmonella is commonly found in poultry, eggs, meat, and fresh produce, and cross-contamination spreads it. Cooking to required temperatures and avoiding cross-contamination are the main controls. Highly acidic or dry, shelf-stable items are not typical vehicles. Question 12. When food is placed on a service line under time as a public health control, how must it be identified? A. With the name of the employee who prepared it. B. With a label or mark indicating the time it was removed from temperature control and the time it must be discarded. C. With the internal temperature at the moment it left the cooler. D. With the supplier lot number for traceability. The correct answer is B. Food held under time as a public health control must be marked so staff can tell exactly when its window expires. The marking shows when the food left temperature control and the discard deadline, which is 4 hours later, or up to 6 hours for qualifying cold food. Question 13. A supplier issues a Class 1 recall for a brand of frozen ground beef the restaurant has in its walk-in. What is the correct handling of the recalled product? A. Cook it thoroughly to 155 degrees Fahrenheit and serve it to avoid waste. B. Remove it from inventory, label it do not use/do not discard, and store it separately until instructed. C. Return it to the delivery driver on the next order without records. D. Donate it to a food bank so it is not wasted. The correct answer is B. When a product is recalled, the operation should stop using it immediately, physically separate it from usable food, and mark it so no one uses it while the operation follows the vendor's or regulator's return or disposal instructions. Keeping it segregated and labeled preserves it for potential inspection and prevents accidental service. Cooking does not make a recalled product safe. Question 14. A food handler at a restaurant that serves a nursing home reports jaundice, yellowing of the skin and eyes, that began 2 days ago. What must the manager do? A. Restrict the handler to non-food tasks only. B. Exclude the handler and notify the regulatory authority. C. Let the handler work in gloves. D. Send the handler home for 1 hour, then allow return. The correct answer is B. A food handler with jaundice that appeared within the last 7 days must be excluded, and the regulatory authority must be notified, because jaundice can indicate hepatitis A, one of the big 6. This is especially critical where a highly susceptible population such as a nursing home is served. Restriction, gloves, or a brief break are not sufficient responses to jaundice. Question 15. What is the minimum internal cooking temperature for a whole muscle pork chop? A. 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. B. 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 17 seconds. C. 135 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. D. 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. The correct answer is D. Whole muscle cuts such as steaks and chops of pork, beef, veal, and lamb must reach 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. Bacteria on intact muscle remain on the surface, which cooks first, so a lower internal temperature is sufficient compared with ground products. Question 16. A cook opens a commercial container of ready-to-eat deli ham on Wednesday and will hold it cold at 41 degrees Fahrenheit. What date marking rule applies? A. No date mark is needed for commercial products. B. It may be kept 14 days. C. It must be date marked and used within 7 days, counting the day it was opened/prepared as day 1. D. It must be used the same day. The correct answer is C. Once a commercial container of ready-to-eat TCS food is opened, it must be date marked and used within 7 days when held at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or below, counting the day of opening or preparation as day 1. 14 days is too long, and same-day use is stricter than required. Date marking controls slow-growing pathogens like listeria under refrigeration. Question 17. A guest reports finding a small metal screw in their soup. What is the manager's best immediate response? A. Offer a free dessert and ignore the screw. B. Take the complaint seriously, remove the affected food from service, and investigate the source. C. Tell the guest the screw is harmless. D. Blame the supplier without checking. The correct answer is B. The manager should take the complaint seriously, stop serving the affected batch of soup, retrieve the object, and investigate where it came from, such as loose equipment parts, to prevent recurrence. Ignoring it, dismissing the hazard, or blaming others without investigation fails to protect guests and correct the root cause. Question 18. Which observation is a telltale sign of a cockroach infestation the manager should act on? A. Clean, dry storage shelves with dated labels. B. A strong oily odor plus droppings that look like black pepper and shed egg cases and cracks. C. New LED lighting over the prep line. D. A properly functioning air gap at the mop sink. The correct answer is B. Signs of a cockroach infestation include a strong, oily odor, droppings resembling ground pepper, and egg capsules, oothese, tucked into cracks and crevices. Spotting these means the manager should clean thoroughly, eliminate harborage, and bring in a licensed pest control operator. Clean shelves, good lighting, and a working air gap are signs of a well-maintained facility, not infestation. Question 19. Salmonella typhi, which causes typhoid fever, differs from non-typhoidal salmonella mainly because it A. is destroyed by refrigeration. B. Only affects animals, never humans. C. Is not one of the big 6 pathogens. D. Lives only in humans and is spread by infected food handlers. The correct answer is D. Salmonella typhi lives only in humans and is spread when an infected food handler contaminates food, often via ready-to-eat items and beverages. It is one of the big 6. Refrigeration does not destroy it, and it clearly affects humans, causing typhoid fever. Question 20. A pizzeria holds display slices under the 4-hour time-only option, marked from 12 p.m. At 4:15 p.m. 3 slices remain and still feel warm. What should the employee do? A. Sell them quickly at a discount before 4:30 p.m. B. Reheat them to 165 degrees Fahrenheit and start a new 4-hour window. C. Refrigerate them and serve them tomorrow. D. Discard the slices. Once the 4-hour window passes, the food cannot be served, reheated, or returned to temperature control. The correct answer is D. Under time as a public health control, the discard time is absolute. Once 4 hours pass, the food must be thrown out regardless of how it looks or feels, and it may not be rescued by reheating or refrigeration because time, not temperature, was the only control. Question 21. A regulation requires that at least one employee with management authority be a certified food protection manager. What does this credential demonstrate? A. That the person has worked in food service for at least 5 years. B. That the person owns the establishment. C. That the person passed an accredited exam showing food safety knowledge. D. That the person holds a current CPR certification. The correct answer is C. A certified food protection manager has passed a food safety exam from an accredited program, demonstrating the knowledge needed to run a safe operation. The Food Code treats this certification as evidence that the person in charge understands foodborne illness prevention. Years of experience or ownership alone do not satisfy the requirement. Question 22. A server reports a sore throat with a fever. Where the establishment serves the general public, not a high-risk population, what is the correct action? A. Exclude the server for 30 days. B. Ignore it, since a sore throat is minor. C. Restrict the server from working with food and food contact surfaces until they are symptom-free or have a medical release. D. Let the server keep waiting tables normally. The correct answer is C. A food handler with a sore throat accompanied by fever must be restricted from working with food and food contact surfaces, but need not be fully excluded when serving the general population. Exclusion is required only when a highly susceptible population is served. Ignoring the symptom or continuing to serve tables normally risks transmitting streptococcus. A 30-day exclusion is not the code standard. Question 23. A cook pan-sears salmon fillets for dinner service. To what minimum internal temperature must the salmon be cooked? A. 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. B. 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. C. 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 17 seconds. D. 125 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. The correct answer is B. Seafood, including fish, shellfish, and crustaceans, must be cooked to 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. This is the same standard applied to whole muscle steaks and chops and to eggs cooked for immediate service. Question 24. When combining two date-marked ready-to-eat TCS foods, for example, mixing 2 batches of cooked chicken prepared on different days, into one dish, what discard date should be used? A. The later of the 2 prep dates. B. A brand new 7-day count starting today. C. A no date is needed once combined. D. The earliest, soonest, discard date of the ingredients. The correct answer is D. When ready-to-eat TCS ingredients with different date marks are combined, the finished dish must carry the earliest discard date among its components, so nothing is held past its safe limit. Using the later date, restarting the 7-day count, or dropping the date entirely would let some ingredients exceed the maximum safe age. The 7-day maximum at 41 degrees Fahrenheit still governs each component. Question 25. How should poisonous or toxic chemicals such as sanitizers and cleaners be stored in a food establishment? A. On the same shelf as dry food to save space. B. Inside food prep sinks. C. Separate from food, utensils, and single-use items, and below or away from them. D. In unlabeled containers near the cooking line. The correct answer is C. Chemicals must be stored physically separated from food, equipment, utensils, and single-service items, typically in a dedicated area below or away from them, and in clearly labeled original or working containers. Storing them with food, in prep sinks, or in unlabeled containers risks chemical contamination and mistaken use. Question 26. A cook fills a spray bottle with degreaser from a bulk drum. What must be done before it goes on the shelf? A. Label the working container with the common name of the chemical. B. Leave it blank since staff know what it is. C. Mark it only with the date. D. Store it inside a food container to save space. The correct answer is A. Any working container that a chemical is transferred into must be labeled with the common name of that chemical, so no one mistakes it for something else. Unlabeled or mislabeled containers are a leading cause of chemical contamination incidents. Reusing food containers for chemicals is prohibited because it invites dangerous mix-ups. Question 27. Shigella is most often transmitted in food establishments through A. Undercooked poultry. B. Cross-contact with allergens. C. Flies and food handlers with poor personal hygiene. D. Improper freezing of vegetables. The correct answer is C. Shigella is spread by the fecal-oral route, often through flies, contaminated water, and food handlers who do not wash hands after using the restroom. It commonly contaminates ready-to-eat foods and salads. Controlling hand washing and excluding ill staff are key, not freezing. Question 28. A coffee shop holds cartons of milk on the counter under the 6-hour cold option, marked from 7 a.m. At 10 a.m. a barista measures one carton at 73 degrees Fahrenheit. What must happen? A. Nothing. The milk still has 3 hours left on its mark. B. Return the milk to the refrigerator to cool it back down. C. Use the milk only for steamed drinks that reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit. D. Discard the milk now. Food under the 6-hour option must be thrown out the moment it exceeds 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The correct answer is D. The 6-hour option has two simultaneous limits, the clock and the 70 degrees Fahrenheit ceiling. At 73 degrees Fahrenheit the milk has broken the temperature ceiling, so it must be discarded immediately even though the 6-hour window has not expired. Question 29. The municipal water main breaks and the restaurant loses all running water during service. What must the manager do? A. Cease operations and notify the regulatory authority, because loss of potable water is an imminent health hazard. B. Keep cooking and use bottled water only for drinks. C. Switch to disposable plates and continue as normal. D. Close only the dish room and keep the rest open. The correct answer is A. An interruption of the potable water supply is an imminent health hazard because staff cannot wash hands, clean, or sanitize properly. The Food Code requires the operation to stop food operations and notify the regulatory authority. Operations may resume only after water service is restored and, where required, the authority approves reopening. Question 30. A cook has a small infected cut on a finger. What is the correct way to allow this cook to continue working with food? A. Leave the cut uncovered to let it breathe. B. Cover it with a paper towel and a rubber band. C. Simply wash hands more often. D. Cover it with an impermeable bandage and then a single-use glove or finger caught over the bandage. The correct answer is D. An infected wound or lesion containing pus on the hand must be covered with an impermeable, waterproof bandage and then a single-use glove or finger caught, because Staphylococcus aureus in the wound can contaminate food. Leaving it uncovered or using a paper towel provides no barrier, and extra hand washing alone does not contain an infected lesion. Question 31. A breakfast cook cracks shell eggs to order and serves each plate as soon as it is ready. What minimum internal cooking temperature applies to these eggs? A. 135 degrees Fahrenheit. B. 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 17 seconds. C. 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. D. 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. The correct answer is C. Shell eggs cooked to order and served immediately must reach 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. If eggs are pooled or will be held for later service, the higher standard of 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 17 seconds applies instead. Question 32. What does FIFO, first in, first out, stock rotation require a manager to do? A. Use the oldest stock first by placing newer deliveries behind or below existing product. B. Sell the newest product first because it is freshest. C. Store all food by color. D. Keep only 1 day of inventory at a time. The correct answer is A. FIFO means first in, first out, the oldest product, with the soonest use by or expiration date, is used first, so newer deliveries are stored behind or beneath existing stock. Using the newest first leaves old product to spoil or expire. FIFO reduces waste and prevents serving out-of-date food. It is a rotation rule, not a color or inventory quantity rule. Question 33. Which of the following is an example of a physical contaminant? A. Salmonella bacteria. B. Cleaning solution residue. C. Peanut protein. D. A metal staple from a produce box. The correct answer is D. Physical contaminants are hard or soft foreign objects like metal staples, glass, bones, hair, or bandages that can injure a guest. Salmonella is biological, cleaning residue is chemical, and peanut protein is an allergen. Inspecting deliveries and keeping foreign objects out of food prevent physical contamination. Question 34. To deny pests access to the building, what is a correct control at exterior openings? A. Prop the delivery door open with a wedge all day. B. Leave a 2-inch gap under the back door for airflow. C. Remove the window screens to let in light. D. Keep exterior doors self-closing and tight, screen open windows, and seal gaps around pipes. The correct answer is D. Denying pest access means outer openings must be protected, exterior doors self-closing and tight-fitting, open windows screened, and gaps around utility lines and pipes sealed. Even a small gap under a door or an open, unscreened window is an invitation to rodents and insects. Exclusion at the building envelope is the first line of an effective pest program. Question 35. Shiga toxin-producing E. coli, STEC, such as E. coli 0157H7, is most strongly associated with which food? A. Canned tomatoes. B. Undercooked ground beef. C. Boiled white rice. D. Pasteurized milk. The correct answer is B. STEC is strongly linked to undercooked ground beef and to contaminated produce, and even a small dose can cause severe illness such as hemolytic uremic syndrome. Cooking ground beef to 155 degrees Fahrenheit controls it. Canned tomatoes, boiled rice, and pasteurized milk are not typical STEC vehicles. Question 36. Before an operation begins using time as a public health control, what must the person in charge have in place? A. A variance from the FDA National Office. B. Written procedures prepared in advance, maintained in the operation and available to the regulatory authority. C. A HACCP plan approved by the CDC. D. A nothing. The method can be adopted informally at any time. The correct answer is B. The food code requires written procedures before time as a public health control is used. The procedures describe how food will be marked, monitored, and discarded, and they must be kept in the operation and shown to the regulatory authority on request. Question 37. A new hire will be prepping raw chicken on the line tonight. Whose responsibility is it to ensure the employee is trained in safe handling before that shift? A. The employees, who should learn on the job by watching others. B. The health inspectors, at the next routine visit. C. No one's, because chicken handling is common sense. D. Management's, which must provide food safety training appropriate to the employee's duties. The correct answer is D. Management is responsible for training staff on the food safety practices their jobs require, and for verifying that training before employees handle food unsupervised. Ongoing and job-specific training is a core part of active managerial control. Leaving new employees to learn by chance invites the very errors that cause foodborne illness. Question 38. A cook wants to sip from a cup of soda while working on the prep line. Under the food code, drinking in food prep areas is A. Allowed only from a covered container with a lid and a straw, and away from exposed food and clean equipment. B. Never allowed anywhere in the building. C. Allowed freely from any open cup. D. Allowed only if the drink is water. The correct answer is A. Employees may drink in food prep areas only from a container that is covered with a lid and straw, held so that hands and the food are not contaminated, and away from exposed food and clean equipment. Open cups are prohibited because they can spill and expose the drinker's saliva to the hands. The rule is not limited to water, and reasonable drinking areas are allowed, so a total building ban is incorrect. Question 39. A banquet kitchen slow cooks a whole beef roast. Which time and temperature combination meets the minimum cooking requirement for roasts? A. 145 degrees Fahrenheit held for 4 minutes. B. 145 degrees Fahrenheit held for 15 seconds. C. 155 degrees Fahrenheit held for 17 seconds. D. 165 degrees Fahrenheit held for 15 seconds. The correct answer is A. Whole roasts of beef, pork, and cured products such as ham must reach 145 degrees Fahrenheit and hold that temperature for 4 minutes. The extended hold time compensates for the lower temperature and achieves the required pathogen reduction throughout the large cut. Question 40. In a walk-in cooler, which food should be stored on the top shelf, above all the others? A. Raw ground beef. B. Ready-to-eat food and washed produce. C. Raw chicken. D. Raw whole pork. The correct answer is B. Ready-to-eat foods and washed produce go on the top shelf, above all raw animal foods, so their juices cannot drip onto and contaminate them. Raw animal foods are stored below in order of their minimum cooking temperature. Placing raw ground beef, chicken, or pork on top would risk dripping pathogens onto ready-to-eat items. Question 41. A cook uses the same cutting board and knife to cut raw chicken and then, without washing, to slice tomatoes for a salad. To prevent cross-contamination, the cook should have A. Washed, rinsed, and sanitized the board and knife, or used separate color-coded equipment. B. Simply wiped the board with a dry towel. C. Rinsed the knife in warm water only. D. Used the tomatoes first and chicken second on the same board. The correct answer is A. To prevent cross-contamination, food contact surfaces used for raw meat must be washed, rinsed, and sanitized before use with ready-to-eat food, or separate color-coded boards and utensils should be used. Wiping with a dry towel or rinsing in warm water does not remove or kill pathogens. Cutting produce first then meat helps only if the surface is still cleaned between raw meats and later uses. Question 42. What is the primary purpose of a master cleaning schedule? A. To track employee vacation days. B. To specify what is cleaned, who cleans it, when, and how, so nothing is overlooked. C. To list the restaurant's menu items. D. To record customer complaints. The correct answer is B. A master cleaning schedule documents every cleaning task in the operation, the item or area, the person responsible, the frequency, and the method and chemicals to use. This ensures both obvious and easily forgotten areas are cleaned consistently across shifts. It turns cleaning from a guessing game into a managed, verifiable system. Question 43. Which populations are considered highly susceptible, high risk, to foodborne illness and should be given extra protection? A. Young children, the elderly, pregnant women, and immunocompromised people. B. Healthy adults who eat out often. C. Teenagers and athletes. D. People who take daily vitamins. The correct answer is A. Highly susceptible populations include young children, older adults, pregnant women, and people with weakened immune systems, because their bodies fight infection less effectively. Facilities serving these groups, such as hospitals and nursing homes, must not serve certain raw or undercooked foods. Healthy adults and athletes are not high risk by definition. Question 44. During service, a manager finds a pan of cooked sausages sitting off the grill with no time mark and no temperature control. The line cook thinks it has been there about an hour. What should the manager do? A. Mark it now with a 4-hour window starting an hour ago. B. Put it back on temperature control and continue service. C. Discard the sausages. Food held without temperature control and without the required time marking cannot be verified as safe. D. Serve the sausages first before the newer batch. The correct answer is C. Time as a public health control only works when the discard time is marked from the moment food leaves temperature control. An unmarked pan cannot be verified, and a cook's estimate is not documentation, so the safe and compliant action is to throw the food out and retrain the team. Question 45. When an operation submits a HACCP plan to the regulatory authority, which of the following must the plan generally include? A. The names of all customers who bought the product. B. The restaurant's marketing budget. C. A flow diagram of the process and the critical limits for each critical control point. D. A list of competitor restaurants nearby. The correct answer is C. A HACCP plan submitted for a specialized process must describe the food and process, typically with a flow diagram, identify the critical control points and their critical limits, and describe monitoring, corrective actions, and record keeping. These elements let the regulatory authority judge whether the hazards are controlled. Business or marketing information is not part of the food safety plan. Question 46. Which activity is prohibited while working in food preparation and service areas? A. Wearing a clean apron. B. Smoking, vaping, or chewing gum/tobacco. C. Washing hands frequently. D. Wearing an effective hair restraint. The correct answer is B. Smoking, vaping, and chewing gum or tobacco are prohibited in food prep and service areas because they encourage hand-to-mouth contact and can contaminate food and surfaces. Employees who eat, smoke, or chew must do so only in designated areas and wash hands afterward. Wearing a clean apron, washing hands, and wearing a hair restraint are all required good practices, not violations. Question 47. A cafeteria steams a large batch of green beans that will go straight into the hot holding line. What minimum internal temperature must the green beans reach? A. 135 degrees Fahrenheit. B. 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. C. 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 17 seconds. D. 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. The correct answer is A. Fruits and vegetables that will be hot-held must be cooked to at least 135 degrees Fahrenheit, which matches the minimum hot holding temperature. No specific hold time is required for plant foods at this temperature. Question 48. In the correct top-to-bottom storage order based on minimum internal cooking temperature, which food is stored on the bottom shelf? A. Whole cuts of beef. B. Ready-to-eat salads. C. Raw poultry, chicken, turkey. D. Whole fish. The correct answer is C. Raw poultry, which has the highest minimum cooking temperature, 165 degrees Fahrenheit, is stored on the bottom shelf so its drippings cannot contaminate foods that are cooked to lower temperatures or eaten raw. Ready-to-eat salads go on top, followed by whole fish and whole cuts of beef, with ground meat below those and poultry at the very bottom. The order follows required cook temperatures. Question 49. A restaurant offers a peanut-free dessert. To truly keep it safe for allergic guests, the operation must also control A. Only the visible peanuts on top. B. Hidden allergen sources and cross-contact from shared equipment, oils, and surfaces. C. Just the price of the dessert. D. The color of the plate. The correct answer is B. An allergen-free claim requires controlling hidden allergen ingredients, like peanut oil or flour, and cross-contact from shared fryers, utensils, prep surfaces, and gloves, not just visible pieces. Even trace amounts from shared equipment can cause a reaction. Price and plate color are irrelevant to allergen safety. Question 50. Which characteristics should multi-use food contact surfaces and equipment have under the food code? A. Absorbent so they soak up spills. B. Rough textured for better grip. C. Made of untreated raw wood. D. Smooth, durable, non-absorbent, and easy to clean. The correct answer is D. Multi-use food contact surfaces must be smooth, durable, non-absorbent, corrosion-resistant, and easy to clean so they can be effectively cleaned and sanitized and do not harbor pathogens. Absorbent, rough, or raw wood surfaces trap moisture and food and cannot be reliably sanitized. Choosing the right construction materials is a foundational facility design decision. That's all 50 questions. Want the full ServSafe practice test with hundreds of questions, completely free? Just search preppass.org. Good luck on your exam.